Hello, viewer. Recently, I saw The Monkey, and this was a weird movie in so many ways, partially because it's based off a Stephen King short story by the same name. And I was actually aware of this story because I had already read it from one of Stephen King's collections. And when I saw that this movie was becoming a movie, it made me think about how we as a society have absolutely plumbed the well on Stephen King short stories. The fact that we are now making The Monkey. The Monkey is this short story about this toy mechanical monkey that's owned by two brothers, and it has these two symbols, and whenever it smashes the symbols together, something horrible happens. And that happens when you wind up its back, and shit gets bad. But the solution there being just don't do that. But of course, because it's a spooky story and weird things happen, it keeps getting its key wound up in different ways. And the story itself is very it's a fun short story. I like it. Like I think it's one of the better short stories from that collection. But it's such a weird choice for a feature-length movie, and that should tell you how cinema has just raided and exhausted the Stephen King collection of short stories. I was going through a list of all the Stephen King short stories that have been adapted, and it's fucking crazy. Here's a small sample. These are all short stories that have had a Stephen King movie made out of them. And how many of them have you even heard of? Needful Things, The Mangler, Dolores Claiborne, The Night Flyer, Secret Window, Apt Pupil, No Smoking, Dolan's Cadillac, and 1408. 1408 is my favorite Stephen King short story. I don't think the movie that's based on is any good. It's basically about a fucked up hotel room, but I think it's King at his absolute most pure and raw in terms of just being mind-meltingly terrifying. It's such a scary, uncomfortable story, and the way it's told is so clever and brilliant, and I love it. I'm gonna do a video on it around Halloween, I'd say. But yeah, so then you get to The Monkey, and I put on this film out of nearly contrition. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm in the mood to watch a horror movie. I have nothing else to do tonight. Let's see what's there. Oh, The Monkey. Right. They did make a film out of that. And I put it on. And you know what? This was kind of a wild time. This movie starts off with a guy basically bringing this horrifying monkey into a pawn shop, and he's he's covered in blood, and he's all fucked up, and he's like, you gotta help me get rid of this. And the owner of the pawn shop is kind of like, oh, what the fuck is this? And kind of shit goes down. And of course, he winds it up, and the owner of the pawn shop ends up getting harpooned through the stomach, and then his intestines pulled back out through the harpoon. And it's really absurd and strange and weird and completely different from the tone of the original Stephen King short story, which was very dark and played straight and stuff like that. And that was going to be what this film was. This film is a weird horror comedy. It's not dark. It's not a kind of Annabelle or something like that where it's doing it 100% straight. It's actually the way it's edited, the writing, it's all really kind of snappy and kind of irreverent. And I really think that's going to be hit and miss for a lot of people. I think if you are down for this kind of very surreal, kind of slightly ironic sort of writing where it's a little bit self-referential, I think there's a lot here to enjoy in terms of comedy. The film made me laugh out loud several times, and it's also just cruel. It's so cruel to this character who has to grow up with this awful thing in his life. And when the monkey goes off, the level of Final Destination absurdity in the way that it kills people is just fucking insane. There's a moment where basically the monkey, so in the film, the monkey doesn't clang cymbals, it bangs drums. And the reason for that is the famous clanging cymbal monkey, that is a copyrighted toy. I think it's Mattel, and so they had to change it to drums. But the drums actually work really well, and the little song he drums out. Sorry, I just hit the mic. The little song he drums out whenever he does it is it's kind of a fucking banger. Honestly, it's pretty good. But yeah, so like this one where an electric cable goes down into a swimming pool just as a woman is about to dive into the swimming pool. But when she hits the surface of the water, she just fucking explodes. And it's like, it's really gory and weird and funny. There's another bit as well where like their two brothers are there messing with the monkey, and one of them starts to turn the key and the other goes, no, 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 no. And then we hard cut to a funeral for another character. And it's just, I really, really enjoyed like the editing. I really enjoyed the filmmaking. It's a surprisingly like atmospheric movie. Like the camera work is beautiful, and it takes place in Maine, which is, you know, where all Stephen King stuff takes place. But I think the way it's shot in this like kind of autumnal sort of season, and like it looks well, and like it has a vibe. And that is all to say, like, I really enjoyed this movie. This is probably the most surprised I have been by a movie this year. And I really appreciate how they didn't just go like the usual, like kind of dark toy route they could have. They actually tried to put like a really interesting spin on it. And I was reading an interview with the director afterwards, and he was really like unabashed about talking about how much he changed this movie and like why he did. And he actually talks about how when he was growing up, and he didn't go into specifics, but that his parents basically died in a really fucking just insane and weird way. And he said he spent a lot of his life like being like, why me? Like, why did this happen to me? Why did death attack me in this weird way and take away these people I love? And he said eventually, like, his making peace with that was eventually accepting that death is absurd and weird and random, and ultimately there is nothing to be understood except for it to be accepted. And it might as well be a monkey randomly banging a drum and something awful happens, because that's kind of what the film, I think, is saying, is like, the fact that a monkey is the one controlling this only makes it slightly more absurd than the actual reality of life, where terrible things can just happen. There's no logic, there's no rhyme, and there's nothing you can do about them, which is just, that is just what we all face in one way or the other, you know? So I think, like, apart from being like entertaining and weird and fun, I thought there was actually some heart to this movie. Like, I wasn't surprised when I read that quote from the director, because I was like, oh, goddamn, you know, like there did feel like there was something here. The film really did feel like it was at least trying to say something. So, yeah. I think for me, I think this is, you know, I wouldn't say this is like my movie of the year or anything. It was one of my favorite movies I've seen this year. I would give it an old 5 out of 7. And whether people are going to enjoy it or not, I think that's entirely down to how up you're going to be for the tone, because I have seen people just who really did not like the blend of horror comedy. And I kind of get it. I think it's the kind of thing, like, it hits you or it doesn't. But I mean, comedy is like that and horror is like that. So when you combine the two, you are really, you know, how personally it's going to appeal to you is going to be like, you know, different for everyone. In terms of like how the movie's done in the box office, it's kind of fucking crazy. Movie had a budget of 10 million, and so far it's grossed 70 million worldwide, which is a massive success for what is, like, at least in the film industry, a low budget horror movie like this. I really hope that doesn't mean they try and do a sequel or anything like that, because this movie absolutely does not need a sequel. But I also think that I hope it opens the doors for like just different approaches to horror, and not every horror film having that Blumhouse kind of like, you know, this doll is pretty fucked up. I think what people should take away from this is that we're in the era of haunted doll movies. If you want a movie to be successful, design a creepy looking doll, put it in a poster, and then fucking sell it in Forbidden Planet, and you'll be fine. Anyway, I enjoyed it. If you like horror and the idea of horror comedy, go check it out. Anyway, goodbye.